Hey College Success, as I promised in my week 8 video, I would come back in a separate video and show you where you can find your final project information. So I am right now in the Lessons tab, and there's going to be a folder, which by the time you are able to see this video, you'll be able to see this whole folder. And inside this folder, you will have links, rather direct access to the videos for different steps of your final project. So today's purpose is to introduce the final project to you and go over steps 1 and 2. So first, inside this folder, you're going to have a link again to your directions. Now you have that in your syllabus, and there's a couple other places and folders it's sprinkled throughout, but I wanted you to have it directly in there. So when you go in there, you'll open up and you're going to get that final project direction sheet opened. So I'm going to go through this, kind of just let you know what to expect. Again, today though, I'm really going to focus on steps 1 and 2. So you're welcome to look at 3, 4, and 5, but for our purpose, we're really going to focus on 1 and 2 today. Something I also want to draw your attention to is the directions are on the first sheet, but then the second sheet is where this is the actual rubric I'm going to use when I grade your final project. So when you are done with your final project, before you submit it, I would recommend going through and just checking these things off and saying, okay, did I do that? Would I give myself full credit for this? Just making sure that you got all the points that you can possibly receive for your final project. All right, so let's scroll up. So your final project, this is on whether you're face-to-face or online, every College Success student completes the same final project, and it all is based upon your particular major. So that's what's nice about it, is it's going to be connected to your major, so it's going to be something that is personal to you, relevant to you, and hopefully something that either you know a little bit about, or this will serve as an opportunity to find out more about your major. So if you already set, you've already declared a major, you already have your topic. If you're a CCP student or you're undecided, this will be an opportunity for you to kind of explore something you think you might want to go into, as well as if anyone's undecided in terms of they're going back and forth, maybe they've declared a major, but they think they want to switch majors. So that kind of uncertainty. You could use this project as like a sneak peek into a potential major. So first thing, you're going to find a career, find your major that you are going to focus on. And this is a PowerPoint. So this is a PowerPoint project. So I will walk you through that here in just a moment, how to do that. So again, we are going to do just the first 2 steps. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get PowerPoint up and going. And I'm going to get a blank presentation started. Maybe. There we go. And for my very first slide that opens up, I am just going to be very generic to begin with and just call it my final project. And then that's what you can do if you're doing this along with me. You can create a blank slide, your title slide, and just call it final project with your name, and then you can change that later. And today, since we're doing just steps 1 and 2, I'm going to go to new slide, and I'm going to enter 2 title and content slides. We're going to use just these 2 today. So for the very first slide, the very first step of our project, this is going to be a career description. So it says provide a description of your career. So basically you're going to describe what your career is to someone who in theory has never heard of what a nurse does, of what a physical therapist does, of what someone in IT does. So you're going to tell us about the responsibilities and tasks and expectations that someone in this field is expected to complete. That's going to be about a paragraph in length. So for slide 1, I know it's technically slide 2, but the first title, like the first content slide rather, we're going to label it career description. And that's what you're going to do in this box. You're going to write a paragraph, approximately paragraph, on what it is that you will have to do in your career. So again, you're trying to write it in a way to make someone understand who's never heard of your career before, if that kind of helps you think about how you're writing your career description. So that is step 1, is basically just kind of introducing us, well, really me, since I am your main reader, your main audience, but you're introducing your audience to your career, to the responsibilities, the tasks, the expectations, maybe some of the duties, those kind of things that you're going to have to do once you get into your field. That is the very first thing. Step 2 is a brief overview of your career pathway, kind of like the steps you have to take from right now to get into an entry-level position in your field. And this can be in the form of a list, a chart, bullets, whatever you want to do. So for example, there's kind of a lengthy example in here. If you wanted to be a surgeon, you have to get your bachelor's degree. You have to take the MCATs, which is your medical examinations. You have to go to medical school. You have to graduate medical school. You have to do an internship. You have to do a residency, and then you get into your field. So lots of steps there. So for step 2, some of you may have 2 steps: associate's degree, entry. Some of you may have 5 steps: associate's degree, bachelor's degree, licensure exam, internship, and then field. So it's really hard to say how many steps you're going to have because it's going to depend on your particular field. So for the next slide here, I'm just going to call it career pathway. Okay, so that's all we're focusing on right now. We got your title slide, which you can change later and make it look however you want. Your first step is your career description, where you are describing your career, and then your career pathway. How do you get from right now to your career? For some of you, you may have to include graduate high school if you're a CCP student. So you can certainly make that your first step. So I want you to think about things like licensure exams, certification issues you have to go through, residencies, internships, volunteering, part-time experiences, all those things that could possibly make your way into your field. So now the question is, all right, this is what you're doing for these 2. Where do you find this information? So I'm going to show you that next. So if you recall, we've already done a little bit of exploration with this. I'm at the Stark State homepage. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to get back into Career Coach. We've used Career Coach already, but we're going to use it not for the assessment this time, but rather right here. And if you already saved your results from a couple weeks ago, you can get back into that. Or if you want, you can just type what you're doing. And I'm just going to use the example of physical therapy for my purpose today. So you would type in whatever career path you're going into and search, and you're going to try to find the one that matches yours the closest. So I'm going to go ahead and click on physical therapy assistant. So I'm going to click there. And hopefully you already, again, this was familiar to you. So this won't be brand new, but you're going to look and see, okay, well, here's some general information. But this tab right here, the About tab, it's going to give you a lot of daily tasks, and it's going to walk you through what to do. So it's going to show you, here's all these things, all these responsibilities, all of these information that someone in the physical therapy assistant field is going to have. Okay. That is one source, the Career Coach source. Another source I'm going to show you is called the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. I'm going to search up here. I'm going to use physical therapy again. I'm going to hit search. I'm going to find the closest match. I'm going to see, because I did physical therapy assistant before. I'm going to click there. And then this is a great website, gives lots of information. So here's a quick snapshot. But then these tabs really go into more depth. So for step 1, again, I'm looking for that career description. What do they do? Here's a nice page that goes into a lot of information about the duties and what they are expected to do. Lots of information there. So that's a second source. The third source I'm going to discuss is O-Net Online. So O-Net Online, I'm going to click here, up here, again, physical therapy, click search, I'm going to go physical therapist assistant. And again, this one I think has a lot of information. It might be a little overwhelming, but you can see all this information here, lots of information here. So those are 3 great sources for your very first step, career description. And I'm going to encourage you now to make sure that you are writing down what site you visited and when, And then if you take any notes, give credit to those sites because you are going to have a reference slide. And hopefully you know you cannot just be copying and pasting this information. What I would recommend is either printing these slides out or having a notebook next to you and taking notes and marking down what information you got from where so that when it comes time for your slide with all your references, it's going to be very easy for you to plug those in. So again, Career Coach, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and ONET Online are great places to go to look. I'm not saying you can't look anywhere else, but those are great places to start getting your information for your career description. Now for step 2, you can look at those same exact places. What kind of education or information or licensures are you going to have to get into your field? So I'm going to direct you to those same places because it's going to talk to you about, what kind of education do you need to have. It may tell you in here some licensures you have to pass. Same thing with the BLS. You might have to go in here like the how to become one. And it's going to walk you through all this education and training and licensures. So that's going to help you out for step 2. Same thing in the ONET Online. It's going to go through and eventually if you have licensures or things like the education, credentials, so all of those sites, those 3 resources can also help you complete step 2. Okay, so far we've completed our title slide. Step 1 is describing your career to someone who may have never heard of what your career does before. And then your second step is walking me through the steps or the path to get from now into your career. Again, that's going to look a little different for everyone. And just before I end the video, I do have some examples I want to show you. So here's a student who her career is graphic design. Here's her career description. So again, about a paragraph telling us about what graphic designers do. And then her career pathway. She walked us through how they get a job and then how they stay in their field for their career pathway. Another one, this one is a physical therapist assistant. Here's her career description, and then here's her pathway. Okay, so those are 2 examples of how those students chose to walk through their careers. Okay, so I hope this is helpful to you. And again, this is due in week 16, but I wanted you to start thinking of it now so that you're not rushing toward the end of the semester. All right, talk to you all later for steps 3 and 4.